Hi guys, my name is Karthik and I am from executeautomation.com and welcome to part 29 of our BDD video series. And this is a Specflow advanced series where we are talking about some of the advanced concepts of Specflow. And today we're going to talk about something new, and of course nothing to do with Specflow, but this is ExtentReport with Specflow and Selenium C#. Alright, so let's get started. So as that said, let's take a quick look at the ExtentReport. So ExtentReport is a logger style API written for Java and .NET environments, which allows creating HTML reports from the test. Well, not only just HTML reports like a static test, you can use, there are some other tools like Specflow, which can be used to do some historical analysis. So as you can see on the slide there, they have features like multiple report types, support community used test frameworks, multiple project support, historical test analysis and trends, interactive APIs, beautiful reports, and highly configurable reporting. So these are some of the great features of the ExtentReports and all about. So ExtentReports is really good. So if you start using it, you'll understand what ExtentReport provides us. Well, a couple of years before, I was talking about what is called a pickle report, where pickle report is more like a BDD style reporting. So that can be generated once the test is executed. You can try to run a pickle command, which will automatically pick all the feature files location that you have in Specflow, and also it merge the test run based on the nunits XML file, which is test result.xml file. It just merge both of them and it creates a nice looking report. But ExtentReport has gone even a level further, where it automatically insert these kinds of information for you on the fly, and you don't really have to run a separate command to do that. And it also has a dashboard and very nice looking search features, which I guess pickle report doesn't provide out of the box. But yes, ExtentReport is really good than compared to pickle report. And yes, it's used a lot in community because the community edition is really good. And I said something about community edition. Of course, yes, there are two different versions of ExtentReport. One is the pro version and another one is the community versions. So the pro versions is actually has everything. As you can see, it has all the features which a ExtentReport can provide to you. Whereas the community version has some limitations. As you can see, there are a lot of cross marks, red color, which means those are not supported. For instance, offline report, configure view visibility, auto save screenshot related to the report, and auto link screenshot to the report. So these are something which are not available out of the box in the community version, whereas in the pro version you have all these features. So these are some of the nice to have feature, and I would say that of course yes, these are some of the most important features as well. If you have any failures, then this screenshot should be attached. But again, if you don't really are going to rely more on the ExtentReport, I guess community version is more than enough for that. But still, these are really a nice to have features. ExtentReport can log data in both classical logging style or BDD style. So it has two different versions, but we are going to discuss only the BDD style version because we are talking about this ExtentReport in the Specflow series. So of course, yes, we have to talk about BDD style, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So ExtentReport pseudocode, BDD style, how it looks like. Basically, we first need to create a HTML reporter. So that's the first important thing that we need to do while creating a ExtentReport. That particular HTML reporter is going to be generated using a class called ExtentHTMLReport. And then we need to attach the ExtentReport using a class called ExtentReports. So this particular ExtentReports is going to attach the test report, which is the HTML extent HTML reporter. And then we need to create some features using create test of feature. And then we need to create some scenarios using create node of scenario. So this is what is the very high level pseudocode of ExtentReport. So if you're going to create a BDD style reporting, then we need to follow these procedure to create the BDD style reporting in the reports. And again, if it doesn't really make any sense, why are we really trying to create pretty much exactly what we do in the BDD? because this is a BDD style reporting, we have to follow this pattern, and it's really easy to follow the pattern as well. So the report is going to be generated from the ExtentReport is going to look something like this. As you can see, it has a very nice looking dashboard donuts, and it has a feature, scenarios, and steps. So the features indicates what are the features being executed, pass, fail, and skip versions, scenarios, and steps. And also it has a scenarios full definition, like what is the particular step definition for those scenarios. So you can see it's in dark mode theme. You can also change it to light mode themes, and when is this test being executed, and things of that nature. So this is really cool, and this report, I guess it's really very professional. So how are we going to generate this kind of report? Do we require a lot of code change with our existing code? Well, the answer is no. We are going to make all the code change in the hooks of our code. Well, this is the first ever video series where we are going to talk about ExtentReport with Specflow, whereas there are so many videos available which talks about BDD, ExtentReport with the classical style reporting, or ExtentReport with Java and TestNG. So we are going to make use of hooks, which means we need to have a clear understanding of what Specflow is and how to work with Specflow's hooks and things of that nature. So we are going to use the pseudocode that we saw over here to create the reporting, but we are going to make use of Specflow's hooks, as I said. So you need to have a clear understanding of Specflow hooks before watching the rest of the video, else there are high chances that you may get confused. So we are going to make use of Specflow's feature context, scenario context, and scenario step context for creating a very beautiful report that we saw there with very minimal lines of code. So creating an HTML report, as I said, we are going to make use of this line of code. So we're going to create a new ExtentReporter class instance, and then we're going to give the path of the HTML file, and then we need to configure the theme, like what version, because it's a dark theme. So I just configure that to dark theme, and you have so many configuration options to be done, to be specified in there. And then we need to attach this particular report using the extent.attach reporter, and again the extent variable is actually an instance variable of the ExtentReport class. And then we need to create the feature and scenario in the BDD style. So for that, I'm going to use the feature context.current.featureinfo.title. So this will give the title of the feature file. And to get the scenario title, we need to use the scenario context.current.scenarioinfo.title. So this is the two way that we can get the feature info of title and scenario info of title. So this is the very simple way that we can do this in hooks, so that we don't really have to do any code change in the pages or steps of our class. Finally, we need to insert the test steps in the BDD style. So for that, we are going to make use of our scenario.create node of given of scenario context.current.stepinfo.text. So you can see that all of them are now covered using the BDD's, the Specflow's own classes and properties. So let's quickly see everything that we discussed in the slides here in action and understand how things work. So for that, I'm going to flip to Visual Studio. So we are going to make use of the code from our Exit Automation's GitHub repo, and you can see that. So this is the one, the Selenium with Specflow repo that you can see here is going to be the code we're going to be using. So you can see that this particular repo actually covers the Specflow panels and Selenium 3.11.1 page object model breaking changes code. So we're going to extend the same code to have our extend reporting as well. So you can see currently I don't really have any information on that. So once the video is done, once the code is being uploaded, you can see that particular text in here as well, meaning there will be your updated readme while you watch this particular video, right? All right, so I'm going to grab this particular code from here. I actually just grabbed it and the code is available for me over here. So you can see that this is exactly the same code that I just grabbed from the GitHub. And if you try to run this particular test, this test is going to execute as expected. So there is no problem on that. So you can see that the test is running. There we go. And the test is going to pass. So we are going to make use of our extent reporting. So as I said, for our extent reporting, the first and foremost thing that we need to do is to download the extent reporting plugin. So that particular plugin is available from the NuGet package. So we can go all the way over here, and then we can search for ExtentReport. And you can see there are so many packages being installed, like HTML Agility Pack, ASP.NET Razor, MongoDB, and ExtentReports as well. So we will talk about these some of this information once we move forward, but as of now just let it be, and then I'm going to install everything over here. All right, so it seems like all the packages has been installed, and there is a change in the Specflow because there is a new package being installed. I'm going to close that and let me build this. All right, so now you can see there is a extent-config.xml file. So there is a configuration file. So as of now, I'm not going to talk about that because you can control this configuration from the code as well. So I'm just going to leave it. So for the reporting, that you can see that the ExtentReport is going to generate based on standard style or the BDD style. So for the BDD style to generate the report, we can do in two options. So I'm going to just quickly tell one option, and then I'm going to jump in that how we saw in the slide and understand how things work. So first thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to make use of our hooks.cs file, and here we can create the object for our ExtentReport. If you're going to make use of this ExtentReport variable across all the steps, but actually what we're going to do is this. We can go to the loginstep.cs file instead of actually using the hooks.cs file. The reason is because this is just for one single demonstration, and then we'll move the whole code to make it more generic rather using this in the steps, right? So I'm going to go all the way over here, and then I'm going to start creating the HTML report. So the first thing I'm going to do is this: var HTML reporter is equal to new ExtentReport, hit control dot. All right, and then I'm going to give the path of the HTML file. So the path I'm going to give is this. I'm going to give directly the project path. So let me make this as this path, and then I'm going to say this as ExtentReport.html, and then I can do some configurations here. So HTML reporter dot, there is something called as configuration. So within configuration, you can do a lot of configurations like chart location, chart visibility on open, file path, and things of that nature. So the one of the examples that I was talking about in the slide is this one, the theme, and then you can select the theme as dark or standard. So you can specify the theme here, right? And then once the HTML reporter is there, so once you create an HTML file, as we saw in the pseudocode, we need to then create the ExtentReports instance variable. So that we can do using what is called as var is equal to new, and hit control dot. So once this ExtentReport is available, then we can do something like attach report. So extent dot. So you can see there are so many methods available. The one which we are interested in is the attach reporter, and then we can specify which report we're going to attach, which is nothing but our HTML reporter, right? So you can see that I'm writing all these kinds of configuration stuff within a step just to showcase how the report is going to look like. And then in our next video, we'll try to work with a more generic way. So this is one thing for creating the HTML reporter. And then finally, we need to start writing the actual test steps, right? So that's something which is very, very important. So first thing is I'm going to create a feature, and then I'm going to create a scenario, and then I'm going to create steps. Pretty much how it looks like in our scenario here, right? So we will have a feature, we will have a scenario, and then we will have a step. So this is exactly the same BDD style being followed in the ExtentReport as well. So first thing is the feature. So for feature creation, we're going to use extent dot, there is something called as create test method. So you can see there is a create test of a generic, and there is a create test of non-generic method. So the one with the create test of generic method supports the BDD style. So here you can pass the feature, hit control dot, and you can see that there is a event stack ExtentReport.Gherkin.model. I'm going to select that, and here I can pass the name of the feature. So you can see that the name of the feature that I'm going to work in for this one is a login feature. So I'm just hard coding that in here, and then we need to create a scenario. So since the feature has been created and since the scenario is sitting within the feature, I need to give this variable. Actually, this feature is of type extend test, so I'm going to extend this extend test. So once again, I'm going to create a scenario here using create node. So I'm going to call scenario. So here I need to give the name of the scenario. So basically the name of the scenario that I'm going to execute is actually login user as administrator. So I'm going to copy that, I'm going to paste it over here, save it, and then I need to create a step. So basically the step I'm going to execute is going to be this one, right? I navigate to the application. So I'm just going to use this feature. So since this step is actually going to sit within a scenario, then you need to return the scenario. So we're going to say scenario dot create node, and we have to explicitly specify that what it is. So is it a given, or is that a when, or is that a then, right? So I'm going to say it's a given, this one, right? So if it is going to be executing in the then statement, then you need to specify then create node. So as it seems like this is going to be more generic for this particular login step, and since we are going to put it over here, of course this is not really going to make any sense, because this is going to execute only for this particular step definition and none of the other step definitions are going to execute. So if you're going to make this as more generic way, then probably you have to do a lot of dependency injections and things of that nature. So as of now, I'm just going to leave it. So you can see that you just get an idea, right? So this is the HTML report. So this is the extend report. You're going to attach that, and then you're going to create a feature, scenario, and steps. That's it. And I'm going to quickly execute this test and see how it's going to happen. All right, the test is executing, and the test got passed. And we know there is the location of this particular test. So if I go over here, you can see that, oops. All right, so the file is not being generated here, and the reason is because we need to flush the test report once it is generated. So we need to use the extend.flush method. We need to call that. All right, and I'm going to run this. All right, you can see there is a HTML report generated, the ExtentReport.html. So if I open this time, you can see that we have a beautiful extend report coming in. So given I navigate to the application, so this is the scenario and this is the feature name, and this is what I was talking about. If you hit this, it becomes black. So basically it's a dark theme, and you can see that it is passed. And there are so many things to be noted here. The first thing is we have hard coded the feature name, we have hard coded the scenario name, and we have hard coded the step name, and also the test has got passed. So, and there is no way that we have specified that it is passed or failed. So even if this particular step is going to fail, there is no way that this particular step knows that this step has got failed. So these are some of the considerations that we need to take into effect while creating this kind of extend report. So we are going to talk about these kinds of problems that we are looking at right now. As you can see that these are more generic setup things, and these are more specific to a particular test like features and scenario, because there can be any number of features here. There is a demo feature, there is a login feature, and there is a user form feature. So these features are changing, these are dynamic. Similarly, the login has different kinds of steps, and we need to know that if this step fails, we have to resolve that. So these are some of the considerations that we need to take into effect before we start designing our report to be more and more generic. So we'll be talking about these considerations in our next video. So once again, thank you very much for watching this video and have a great day.